Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you have been here before, if you don't know me, my name's Beth and I'm a seamstress, but I also knit and crochet, and we just do a lot of knitting, sewing things on this channel. So today, as you'll have seen, is just like a sort of typical podcast episode. I tend to do these at the end of every month, so I'll just be going through my finished pieces that I worked on in February, some whips that I've got on the go, and then also some acquisitions which are meant to be on a bit of a yarn ban, but it's for something, so I guess I'll get to that when we get to it. And I've been doing a little bit of sewing outside of the shop products. So if you don't know, I have my own online shop which I sell handmade like craft themes, accessories, knit and needle cases, that sort of thing, but I'm not gonna cover them in this video because I feel like that's kind of separate. Like that's like work. This stuff is pleasure, I guess. So yeah, I'm not going to go through the shop stuff, but if you are interested in taking a look, I'll be leaving the link in the description as always. And just, I guess, one like little announcement again about the shop. I am actually putting some products in a physical shop, which is so exciting, which will be happening in March, but I don't really want to get into this like loads and loads. We will get into the podcast, but basically because all of the fabric I use is dead stock, sustainable, secondhand, upcycled, etc., I like to sell one-off pieces. So I won't be remaking things, but I'm gonna have to take some stock off of the website to obviously put into the physical shop to begin with. So if there is anything you were interested in getting, I am going to have to take some of it back down, probably some of the stock from the first drop, but some of I think the box pouches will be coming off. But yeah, that's all I want to say. I'm not going to dwell on it. We're just going to get into the knitting stuff. So yeah, I should probably say as well, the jumper that I'm wearing this was actually something that I made in January. Also, don't mind this. I basically weaved in an end badly. That's what that is. If it ever bothers me enough, I will frog the collar and reknit it. And I'm sorry if the lighting changes. We're relying on the sun. But yeah, I knitted this in January. This is a second sample of a self-drafted pattern that I made last year with some changes. The sleeves are a bit different and the body length is different, and this is knit in the Rowan Island blend. Yeah, the Rowan Island blend fine held double. So I am considering writing up a pattern for this. I wasn't going to because I just feel like it's a stockinette jumper, but another difference is that the first sample has a lot of neck shaping but no short rows, whereas this sample has short rows in the back. So I'm thinking of maybe writing the pattern up anyway, because it might be more geared towards, say, if you're more of a beginner and you don't want to tackle all the short rows and stuff. There's just the neck shaping, and then there'll be two different sleeve options for the wide sleeve and the tapered sleeve, and yeah, obviously like the body lengths and stuff. So I did have interest on Instagram, but if anyone else would be interested here, please let me know. But yeah, I don't feel like I feel like I didn't do a lot in February in terms of finished pieces, because one of them took me so long. Not even so long, but like so long by, I guess, my standards maybe. I don't really tend to knit on things on particularly small needles, and it definitely just took, I think in my mind it took a lot of time for what it was, considering it was short sleeved. But if you saw my most recent project vlog, you'll have seen this anyway. So again, if you've been here before, you probably know the drill, but if you're new, I pretty much only self-draft patterns. There's only one thing in this which I didn't, which is a sock, and we'll get to that later. But this was self-drafted and I haven't weaved the ends in because it has not long come off of the blocking mats, and honestly I just haven't had the time this week. It's not like I can wear it yet anyway. But this is my new short sleeved cabled cardigan-esque thing. So this is knit using just like held single the Rowan Soft Yak yarn, which is 76% cotton, I think, and I think it's like 15% yak and then like a little bit of nylon. But I I really love this stitch, this all over cable. If I show you the back, you can probably see it a bit better, like an all over piece of it. But yeah, so this is completely self-drafted. This is probably the most challenging thing I've ever designed for myself. If you are interested, literally the last video on this channel is a complete start to finish project vlog of me making this, going through the entire design process and the things that I had to frog and fix and basically how we ended up here. But I will touch on it a little bit, obviously, for people that haven't seen that video. So this yarn is a DK weight, but I always go down a needle size when I'm either doing rib or cables because I just feel like the stitches are too gappy otherwise. So this whole thing was knit on 3.5 millimeters. And then I think just on top of the cables and everything, it just took quite a long time. All of the borders are like stockinette edges and the button band is double knit. So basically I'm really cold, so I'm not going to get changed, but I'm going to insert a clip of me wearing this. Okay, so this is me wearing it. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail because there is an entire project vlog, but this is what it looks like. I obviously haven't moved in any of my ends yet. I literally took this off the blocking mats and here we are. But yeah, this is what the stitch pattern looks like. I'm so happy with the like shoulder shaping and the sleeve shaping, especially. I feel like this top section is really, I don't know, like my favorite part, like the part that I'm proudest of. These sleeves are a lot of German short rows, and yeah, the neckline as well. Obviously it's all 2x2. No, it's not, it's all stockinette. But yeah, this is what this looks like when it's on me. So yeah, hopefully that gave you a bit of a better idea of how this fits, because I am, for the most part, super pleased with how this fits. I feel like I am, at the end of the day, my own worst critic. I am definitely a perfectionist. But yeah, if I was to write a pattern, there are definitely a few things that I would not change drastically, but just tweaks. But I feel like that tends to happen when you like knit your first sample or something anyway. I didn't knit this with the intention of writing a pattern, but I don't know, maybe I will eventually. I'm gonna touch a little bit more on some patterns I've got in the works in a little bit, but basically I want to get some stockinette pieces out first just to get me into the swing of like grading and writing knit patterns before I get into something that's so like a little bit extreme. But yeah, the shoulders and the sleeves knit me so well. It's got German short rows on the back, and yeah, like I said in that try on portion, just like loads in the sleeves. I think for me the main thing that I would change is I would basically make this neckline like just a little bit shorter, because I tried to stretch out the double knit, but I think ultimately it still cinches in. Either make the neck a bit shorter or make the double knit a bit looser, like maybe pick up more stitches. But I don't know, I think that's just a me thing, because I like my necks to be like very much sat at the bottom of my neck. I don't really like them like this. But that is just personal preference, and I did talk about that at the end of my video. The other thing is I had issues with the bottom with the stockinette, because I had to basically decrease stitches to get to like the right gauge, because it was flaring too much, because obviously the cables were cinching in and then the stockinette was flaring out, and I did it a couple times and I kept decreasing stitches more and more and more, and I think I could have done even more, to be honest. So I think I ended up doing it at a rate of like 3.5, so I did like 3 and then a decrease and then 4 and then a decrease and then 3, whatever, so it continued. But I honestly think I could have gone down to 2 and 3, or even just 2 and then decrease. I was too worried about it being too tight around the bottom, but ultimately I think it could have been tighter, and I would maybe also experiment with putting some decreases in at the side, because on me personally, my bust is a little bit out of proportion to my body. I definitely have like bigger boobs than I think I'm meant to as someone of my size. I'm like quite small. I'm only like 5'2", and it always happens with knit tops. I feel like things look too frumpy on me, which is why I tend to knit a lot of my things oversized. Like this is like so oversized. I just love being swamped in things, and so I feel like I would need to do some decreases in the body, or just play around with the bind off to see if I could get the stockinette to like cinch the waist in. But by doing so, I also would worry that the buttons would gape too much. So I think one other like really simple modification that I would do is basically do another buttonhole. So I think, yeah, I got 6 buttons on this. I'd just do 7. So I'd leave the 1 in the neck, and then I'd basically like have 6 in like this portion instead of the 5, and they'd just be closer together, so if it like did pull on the buttons, the holes wouldn't gape so drastically. But that is just me being really picky, because unfortunately that is just the way that I am. But I am really proud of this. Like I will say I'm super proud of this. I'm literally obsessed with this stitch. This looks a lot more complicated, I think, than it actually is to knit, because all it essentially is an uneven rib that you just cable like you alternate where you cable. I'm so sorry, the lighting has just changed like so drastically. Right, well, there's only so much I can do about the sun, but yeah, it's basically you alternate where you cable every, I think it's like every 10 rows, and it's literally just you like knit and rib, do a couple cables, and then just knit and rib, and it's really not like, it's not that hard to keep track of. I think it's quite repetitive. In terms of cables, I feel like it is quite mindless, because it is just so repetitive, and it's not like you've got like a panel here and a panel here and you've got different cables and you need to keep track of where things turn on different rows, because it's all just the same. It all cables like evenly, and yeah, I don't know, I really like this. I'm definitely making more in this stitch pattern. I should probably talk a little bit about the yarn as well. So I had the yarn in stash for quite a while, I would say, maybe like since last June. So I don't know, what's that, like 9 months, I don't know. And I wanted to use it for this type of project, which is like, I would say that this is like a spring autumn top, like late spring early autumn. It's not roasting hot in the summer, but it's still like warm, because obviously cotton's a summer fibre firstly. I don't really get the thing of knitting short sleeve tops in 100% wool. Saying that, I don't know, I have never knit one, so I feel like I can't, I don't know, judge too much. Me personally, I'm someone that like, I'm either cold or I'm really hot. I'm like never normally anywhere in between. In the summer, I'm like, I run hot in the summer, so I could not be dealing with this if it was in like a wool, like a proper percentage wool. I feel like the 15% yak in this yarn makes it super soft, and it's really nice against the skin. Actually, it doesn't have that sometimes roughness that cotton has. It definitely isn't like super soft, right? Like it's not going to be like mega soft, but it is very not irritable. I don't really know the best way to describe it. It's definitely not itchy or scratchy. It just feels like, I don't know if you know what I mean, it almost feels like dry in a sense. I feel like if you've used a yarn like this before, you might know what I mean. But yeah, you can definitely feel there's a cotton percentage, and I could definitely feel it as well when I blocked it. It was a little bit jarring actually. I don't think I've ever really knit anything in like this percentage of cotton, but you can feel it's so different when it's wet and when it's blocking. I was like, oh my god, this is gonna take so long to dry. It wasn't that bad actually, but yeah, I think that the percentage of yak in this is quite nice. And I also had a comment on one of my recent videos about it's actually quite good to knit if you're knitting in cotton, it is quite good to knit cables, because where cotton tends to like run heavy and it like drapes a lot and your like stitches stretch out, because the cables have so much tension and they like, I don't know, hold the fabric, it actually holds its shape a lot better than if you just knit cotton in stockinette, which I didn't know, but actually makes so much sense. So I feel like this is gonna hold up all right, instead of it just all being stockinette. I feel like it might stretch, like especially around my bust area. I don't really want it to get like super stretched out. But yeah, I feel like I've been talking about this for quite a while, and like I said, there is an entire video on this, so I'm gonna move on to some of the other things. So my second finished object is actually a pair of objects, and they're actually mittens. So I started these, god, before Christmas, and basically my boyfriend bought me this yarn not last year, the year before, when he went to Denmark, and I will show you because I do still have a full one left. This is the Isaiah Eco Melange, which is 80% alpaca and 20% merino, and I don't know how well you can see, but I'm assuming that the grey is the alpaca and then the white is the merino, because it kind of looks like a chain in a sense. It's like they're twisted around each other. But he bought me 3 of these. They're 150 meters, and I had, for the longest time, had no idea what I was going to make with these. And basically I leave for work like relatively early in the morning, around like 7:30, sometimes a little bit earlier depending, and let me tell you, it is absolutely freezing at that time of the morning, and I have quite a I have a relatively long commute. I have a drive of maybe like about 40-45 minutes each way, and basically my hands were getting so cold in the early mornings on the steering wheel and when I had to like de-ice the car. So yeah, I started knitting these before Christmas. I think I knit this one, and then I put off knitting the second one for ages because I wanted to film a tutorial on these, because I feel like they're so easy and they're definitely something that you could use as a stash buster at home, and they're so easily modified. Like, I think I have quite small hands, but you can for sure knit these longer, but I really specifically wanted a pair of foldback mittens. So this is what the yarn looks like knitted up, which I think these look so cool. I'm not always the biggest fan of, what is this called, like marling, like if you hold 2 yarns together, but I think this just looks, I don't know, I think these are so nice. This yarn as well is super soft. It's really nice to wear as mittens, but I specifically left my thumbs out because, I don't know, when I'm out and about, I want to be on my phone, etc. And yeah, they fold back like this. So I guess I'll show you them against each other, and these have literally just come off the blocking mats as well, hence I haven't weaved these ends in. But yeah, so this is what the hand parts look like. So they're all finished off with 2x2 rib just to help keep them closer to your hands, and then this is what the back looks like. So when the, like, I want to call it the flap, when the hand bit's up, it looks like a continuation of stockinette, just like looks like a full mitten, and then obviously the inside is where the rib is, and then only this side's got one currently. I need to put one on here, but this has got a little loop, and then I'm going to pop a little button just at the top of the rib so that these can pin down, and yeah, so I can have my hands like properly on the steering wheel, and then if they get really cold, it's like boop. But yeah, these are so easy to make, and I did actually end up filming the tutorial, so I'm hoping, if all goes to plan, that should be the video that's up next week. But yeah, like I said, these are pretty straightforward, pretty easy, and I know that it's coming a little bit late. I didn't really intend for it to come out so late as like the first weekend in March, but if you're in the UK, it's still freezing here. So yeah, I think that, you know, you might still get some use out of it, or even next year. And I think these are quite good gift knits as well. Okay, so he bought me 3 of the balls. I used one and a bit of the second one, so I need to weigh it exactly. Let's say these used 200 meters roughly. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I knitted them on 3mm as well. But yeah, I will obviously say in that video like specifics. But yeah, now I don't know what I'm gonna do with the other balls, because this yarn is just, it's so nice. It is really, really nice to wear. So yeah, I need to figure out something else to go with, but I don't know what, because my boyfriend was like, oh, you can knit socks, but they've got no nylon, so it makes me a little bit hesitant. But yeah, if you're interested, definitely subscribe, and then you can see these next week. I don't know whether or not I'm going to write up a written pattern for these. Maybe I will just to accompany the video, but the video is just going to go up first. So those are technically my only 2 finished. I'm so sorry about this light. I have literally got the blind closed as well. But yeah, those 2 are my actual finished projects. Like I said, that top, I think I was working on it for like 3 weeks at least, maybe 3.5. I am a monotonous knitter generally. I will sometimes have like a big piece and accessory on the go, but I won't generally work on garments multiples at a time unless I'm waiting for something to like mid-block or something. So yeah, finished that off. Today's Friday the 28th. I finished that last week, and then last week on Thursday I casted on this next one, which again I'm writing a pattern for, which I'm so excited. So yeah, I have released crochet patterns before. My granny square jacket came out at the end of last year, and I had 3 that I wrote like years ago, but I'm actually going to take them down off of my Etsy soon, because they just like, I don't even know how to describe it. They make me so stressed out, because I really want to reformat them and resize grade them and expand the sizings and actually work out. I don't know, the thought of them just gives me really bad stress. But anyway, that's so not what we're talking about. I have been wanting to get into releasing knitting patterns for so long. I literally self-draft everything. So if you didn't know, I actually have a degree in fashion design, but not specifically knitwear. I'm self-taught in knitwear, but obviously like a lot of the skills are transferable, and I am a seamstress. So yeah, I've been wanting to write up some knitting patterns to release. Basically because people have asked. So I'm happy to, but it's just a lot of the time it's the like grading and stuff, and I'm really conscious that I want to be as size inclusive and as accurate as possible in my patterns, and sometimes I feel like the hardest part is starting, right? So anyway, I have been working on this cardigan, which is actually a second sample, and I will show you the first one in a minute. But in a week I have literally knit, oh god, I have literally knit the whole body. So I will quickly what's first? Okay, I will tell you quickly what the first pattern was, and then we'll get into this one. So this is what I knit last year. It's just a really simple raglan crew neck cardigan with like, not like a high neck, but like I guess a tight neckline. This version is knit in 2 strands of Drops Flora and 1 strand of the Kid Silk. I'm just going to button this up so hopefully it holds its shape a little bit more. but I had so many requests on my Instagram about writing a pattern for this, and basically because it's a raglan, I'm more than well aware that a lot of people have issues with raglans, especially in larger sizes, because I think a lot of designers don't compensate for how do I say this, like they'll just say keep knitting the yoke and blah blah blah, increase until you reach this amount of stitches, and then suddenly you've got like your armpit holes around your waist and it's just like not a vibe. There's a lot of fit issues with raglans, so I really didn't want to put out a pattern that I felt was going to be really ill-fitting for like half the sizes. So I've sat on this for a long time because I am actually really happy with this, and this is probably one of my most worn pieces of knitwear. I really love the colour, and I just think that the fit and the shape and the style, it's just so easy like to wear with anything. But I basically, what I have done is I have actually fully graded this now. Did like break my brain a little bit, but basically there's going to be 10 sizes. So sizes like 1 to 5 are like a normal raglan, right? So you just increase every other row, blah 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 blah. But then the next, I want to say 3 have a different rate of increase, and then like the last 2 have a different rate of increase. So I guess you would call it like a compound raglan, but I know that compound raglans typically, like, sorry guys, we got interrupted by the postman there, but what I was saying was typically compound raglans, instead of this line being like an exact straight diagonal, they tend to be more of like an S shape. So what will happen is you'll typically reach a point where you will continue to increase on the body but not increase on the sleeves, so you end up with like a lot of increases at the bottom, and that's what kind of gives you the S, I guess. But I have done it a little bit differently in the sense that like the raglan is, so like the back and front increase at a different rate on the bigger sizes the whole length of the yoke. So it might be that like the sleeve you increase as a normal raglan, so every 2 rows, whereas like on the body, like on the front and back, it's at a different rate. So basically what I did, yeah, is I've graded the whole thing, and then because I wear this so much I wanted a second one, but I wanted one that was a little bit bigger. This does have, I want to say this has 6 inches of positive ease, but I just love things oversized, truthfully. So I am knitting myself a sample in the next size up, and I also wanted to do this to check that it worked, that my maths was working, because I think if it works out graded to another size, it should in theory work out across more than just the one. So yeah, I have reknit this whole body, and the yarn choice is similar but not exactly the same. And the other thing that I'm doing differently as well is, so on this original sample, the collar, the hem, the cuffs, and also the button band were in 1x1 rib. And on this second sample, it's all going to be in 1x1 rib as well, apart from the button band, which I've done in double knit. So I don't even know, I don't even think you can really actually see the double knit, which, you know, that's a good thing, I guess. But yeah, this side actually has a double knit button band. I guess if I turn it around, yeah, you can see it on that side a lot clearer. Just because I wanted one like this, and I don't think it's a bad thing to include more options of modifications in the pattern. And I've also knit it a little bit longer, so I think I've knit this like only like 10 rows longer, right, but still just a little bit longer anyway. But yeah, I don't know, I'm gonna try and hold this up next to each other so you can kind of get just for what I mean. The way that I picked up for the button band is definitely cinching the front down, so I feel like, okay, so I'm holding the bottom hems together, but this is the difference in length. This is how much the button band is pulling it down. So I definitely really need to make sure when I block this that I stretch it out. But I find that I tend to knit things with a tighter button band if I'm doing double knit, and then stretch it, because it will tend to stretch and hold its shape, rather than having one that flares too much, because I did that on a cardigan before and it like haunts me to this day, and every time I wear it I think, oh my god, I should have picked up less for that button band. So yeah, I'm gonna obviously include instructions on how to do the double knit in the pattern, but I'll quickly show you the yarn. So firstly, I am holding 2 strands Flora, like I did in the original. In fact, you know what, let me show you what I was actually originally knitting in this, because I've had this in stash for over 2 years. Okay, so if you're like a proper OG on this channel, you may or may not recognize this, I don't know. Started knitting this like literally years ago, and I've always, like, I don't know, I just hated it. You cannot see anything that's going on. The stitch definition is so bad because of one of the yarns I'm holding with it, but it's super soft. But this is 1 strand Flora and then 1 strand of this lace weight boucle, which I'm about to show you, but it's so gappy, and I just, there's no short row shaping. This was before I knew how to do short rows in raglans. I feel like the design is cute in theory, and this definitely stemmed a lot of other designs. I learned from this a lot, but I've just had the yarn sat around, so it is finally going to good use. I'm gonna get so much more wear out of this one. So yeah, it's 2 strands in the Flora. This is like, I'm assuming the darkest grey, I don't know what it's called. Then I'm holding with it this random cone of this lace weight boucle and this other random cone that on the inside says casual. Can you, that's gonna be backwards, but yeah, so I don't know what the compositions are of these. This I think is from like a Chinese mill, and the other one, I don't even think that this has, okay, it does say where it's from, but I don't know what it is. But I got given these when I left uni. My uni just gave them to me because I was the only person that had a knitting machine. But yeah, I'll try and show you these up close. So I'm basically holding these 2 in place of the mohair, because firstly I had these in stash, so I wanted to use my stash yarns. I'm really doing a bad job, hang on, of trying to show you these. Yeah, so firstly I just had these in stash. They're super fine. Yeah, that's how tiny this little random boucle thing is. Yeah, had them in stash, and also just wanted an option without mohair, because I don't mind mohair, but I don't want it all the time. So this is what, hang on, this is what the 4 strands look like together. I will say this has been a bit of a pain in the ass in sections, because I found that I have on some stitches like missed picking up 1 strand or whatever. It tends to be one of the lace ones. I don't tend to miss the Flora, but I also feel like, so if I hold these up next to each other, okay, I feel like the grey one looks more rustic, whereas this has more of a halo, if that makes sense. So this definitely doesn't have the mohair, the halo, because obviously it doesn't have the mohair. Okay, look, there's one that I missed. Can you see that? I'm just gonna pull them all through at the end. Definitely gives it a more rustic look, even though this combination is really soft. The Flora, like, don't get me wrong, it's not like a really horribly scratchy yarn, but I definitely wouldn't say it's like excessively soft either. But it is, considering I'm only holding 2 lace weights with this, they do make quite an impact on the actual feel of the garment. It actually feels really nice, and I'm not someone that usually knits with a lot of grey or anything, but it's just funny that it's all happened to end up in 1 month. But I feel like I'm someone that I always thought like I don't really like neutrals, but I think that's a lie. I think I just don't like beige. I don't think beige suits me, but I have been discovering that I do actually really enjoy a lot of these more like rustic looking kind of greys, this like charcoaly color. I'm really enjoying. So yeah, last night I literally bound off the bottom all in Italian cast off. I think is that the one. I didn't do 2 rows of double knit, and then yeah, obviously I've just literally finished off on the one side of the button band, so the next step will be the other button band and then the neck. The only thing is, so basically I've been knitting from the balls of the flora. I haven't unraveled any of this yet because I feel like this is going to be like really a mission to get undone. I'm hoping that I'm gonna have enough yarn. I feel like I should, but obviously I did extend the length of the body. I'm doing the double knit, and I also am knitting a bigger size. So the only thing I'm a little bit scared of is like, normally I would do sleeves before I finished the bodies on things, but when I do cardigans I like to do the button band and the neck, because I feel like the neck makes an impact on how long the sleeves will be, but that means that you have to do the body first. So yeah, what I'm saying is I didn't do the sleeves first, so I'm just hoping and praying that I'm gonna have enough. Worst case I can order more yarn, but obviously this yarn I bought over 2 years ago, so I'm just was it 3? I can't even remember. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, but anyway, I had it for ages, so not getting this dye lot. I'm hoping because it's a charcoal grey, it maybe won't be too bad dye lot wise, and obviously because I'm holding it with the boucle, it really minimizes the stitch definition, and I'm hoping that it would maybe help if I had a different dye lot. It would just help it all blend in a little bit more, but we'll have to deal with that when we get to it. I think I should be okay, but only time will tell. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this is working up. It's worked up super quick. Like I said, I've literally done this in a week, so happy days. Okay, so on to my next, well, my only other whip, I guess. I was gonna finish this off this morning and I was working on it, I just couldn't be bothered. So this is a sock. This is gonna be really difficult to show you because it just looks ridiculous. So I'm following the Summerly Sock Project book to start knitting socks. I knitted my first pair of stockinette last year, and this really poorly shown sock is one of the ribbed ones. I don't know why my mind just went blank there, so I don't know how well you can see. This looks so stupid. I am literally halfway through the toe. All I need to do is like another couple rounds of decreases and then Kitchener stitch that up. But I am gonna be real with you, I have not enjoyed working on this overly much. I don't think it's a fault of the pattern or the sock. I don't think I love this yarn, and annoyingly I have lost the label for it. I bought this in Denmark, but not from a yarn shop. It was from a Spar, which is like a European like supermarket, and it is actually a sock yarn. It's like a wool and nylon, you know, normal percentages like 75 wool or whatever, but it just it's weird, okay, because when it's on it doesn't bother me, but I haven't loved knitting with it. It's like, I don't know if itchy is the right word, or like scratchy, or what. It just feels like not the nicest to knit with. So I think what my plan is going to be is I'm going to cast off the toe, and then I think I'm going to block this on its own and then try it on my foot and then decide if I'm going to knit the second one. Because if I see, look, it's already making me itch. If I put this on, see, look, this is how stupid it looks, it's all rip. If I put this on and think I don't really love the feeling of it on my foot, then I don't want to waste my time knitting another sock, because the first pair of socks that I did were all completely stockinette and I enjoyed that a lot more. And the bottom of this foot, obviously where the bottom of the foot stockinette and then the top is the rib, I actually didn't mind doing the rib side. I feel like it's a mix of doing rib in this yarn. I don't think it's just one or the other. I had this problem, the jumper that I knit for my boyfriend's Christmas present was a 2x2 ribbed raglan in Let Lopi, which if you haven't used before, it's super rustic, it's super rough on your hands. It feels nice after you've washed and blocked it as a piece, but oh my god, knitting with it was such a slog. Like, I hated actually working on it, and I actually enjoy working on 2x2 rib. I'm going to show you some other bits in a minute, but I have knit a couple of pieces for myself in 2x2. I really have no problem with 2x2 rib. I think what it is the movement of changing between knits and purls so frequently, and like specifically purling in a rustic yarn, I think just rubs the yarn in not nice ways on my fingers. I don't really know how else to put it. But yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to knit the second one to this, but I will be knitting more socks from that book. The book is really good. This is not like a fault of Summer Lee at all. I have actually quite a few other sock yarns in stash, again, that I kind of like bought in Denmark. So there's other things that I can work on in the meantime while I make up my mind if I'm going to knit a second to this pair. I also messed up the first few rows on the heel flaps. This is a heel flap in gusset construction. Basically I did this I did the same thing on my first pair of socks. I always forget when you knit one and then slip one, I always mess up which way you slip the stitch, like insert the needle and slip the stitch. And yeah, basically it just, the first couple rows are just a bit twisted, and then this is how it's meant to look. So yeah, that's that. I also think for the next couple pairs of socks I'm going to try different heel constructions, just something a bit different. But yeah, I like the colour of this, that's why obviously I picked it up, but just not sure on the texture. We shall see after blocking. But yeah, I did find myself feeling like this was a bit of a slog, and I've been taking this to work because since I've been working on that other cardigan, I can't really lug around them two massive cones with me on my lunch break, as well as like obviously the other two balls of yarn. It's just not like easy to hold 4 strands or something while you're like on the go. So this has just literally lived in my work bag, and normally I like really enjoy knitting on my lunch breaks. It's like my 1 hour a day that I like at work, like I get to just do obviously what I want. And yeah, I have not been enjoying this. I've literally been knitting like 3 rounds and just being like, oh, and then just sitting and scrolling on my phone. So yeah, bit of realness for you. Didn't love this, but I think I will enjoy other sorts. So I really enjoyed the first pair that I made, so I think it's got to be the yarn. So yeah, that is really my whips and finished pieces. But like I said, I did get some acquisitions, which I shouldn't have, because I have been on a bit of a yarn ban. So my goal for this year was basically I couldn't buy a new quantity of something until I'd used like 4 quantities before it. So like once I've knit 4 jumper quantities, I can buy another jumper quantity of yarn. Or like once I've knit 4 pairs of socks, I can buy another sock yarn, like that sort of thing, because that way I knew I would be using more than I was bringing in. But basically Drops had a sale, and I wasn't gonna get sucked in. I didn't just want to buy yarn for the sake of it. But on the topic of patterns, there's another pattern that I'm thinking of writing up, and so I bought some yarn for it, and then since I was putting in an order I also got something else. So I'm just going to show you in order of what's in front of me. I bought 3 balls of the Drops Fiesta, which is a DK weight sock yarn. It's relatively new to Drops. I think they only brought it out at like the end of last year maybe. It's a super wash, pretty standard 75 wool, 25% polyamide, and they were literally sold out in like nearly every single colorway. So of the ones that I liked, I was either going to get a cream or this one. I thought I'd just go for this one, because my other thing was I wasn't sure if I wasn't enjoying the sock because it was on such small needles. So I have been wanting to try knitting some DK weight socks. There's also patterns for DK weight socks in the sock project book, so I just thought I'd pick this up. It was super cheap, just to go with the rest of my order. This is the colorway 19. I know they have names online, I can't remember what it was. I want to say this is like strawberry something. I will say some of the bits of pink in this are definitely a lot brighter than they looked online. I was looking through the Ravelry pages because I think it's a little bit more accurate to see them actually knitted up into socks rather than just looking at them in a ball, because obviously there's so many different like colors going through it. But yeah, these are going to be for a pair of DK weight socks. I don't know whether these will be my next socks or not. I'm trying to slowly make my way through that book and just make as many different patterns as I can. But I think I need to actually wear the first pair of socks that I made. I need to finish weaving in the ends and then actually like give them a go at wearing them, because otherwise I'm gonna have loads of pairs of socks that I'm not gonna wear. But yeah, this is just a sock yarn. Whenever, I think, yeah, I'll just get to this whenever. So the other one, and oh my god, this looks excessive. So I bought this load of Drops Alaska, and this is in the like off-white color. It's color 2. So I bought 20 balls of this, which I think this might be too much, but I don't know. So I have never used Alaska before. It's like an Aran like worsted weight yarn, and yeah, this is what it looks like up close. So the reason that I bought this is because I want to knit a second sample for a different pattern. So again, this is another thing that I knit last year. This is using, do you know what, I just suddenly thought like, oh my god, almost everything I knit with is with drops, but it's definitely not. It's just 2 things, okay. But yeah, so I knit this last year. This is in 1 strand of the Drops Daisy and 1 strand of the Drops Kid Silk Mohair, and again it's just another raglan pattern which is in this 2x2 rib. So yeah, like I said before, I actually enjoy 2x2 ribs, so don't know why I hated the sock, but this is what it looks like. It's definitely not got as much positive ease as some of my other jumpers. It's a little bit more form-fitted. So again, I wanted to knit a second sample in a larger size, partially to get a more oversized jumper and partially to test out my own grading. So I probably won't be writing this up straight away. I think what the plan is once I've knit the second sample of my cardigan, we'll get that into testing, and then if all goes well with how I size graded the larger ones, then I will know how to apply it to something like this. Because the other problem that I've got with this one is on the increases, obviously the knits align and the purls align, whereas if this and this were increasing at different rates, they would not. So I would have to like figure that out separately. So this is why I wanted to release a couple of stockinette pieces first, because I feel like they're good to understand grading, sizing, etc., without having to faff around with like complicated stitches or like repeats. Even though I do really love more like, I don't know, intricate pieces in terms of like, I love a lot of like lace stitches, cable stitches, like even rib like this I think is super nice. But I definitely just want to make sure that I'm confident in my like maths skills in terms of grading before I jump into more complicated things. So because this is a strand of DK and a strand of laceway, I was hoping that 1 strand of this would basically make up for that yarn combination, because I know that a lot of people are more sensitive to mohair than I am, and so I wanted to be able to provide a good alternative. And also just for myself, like obviously this is quite form fitted and you don't always want to wear mohair like super close to your body. I can only really wear this when it's like really cold, but I do really love the look of it. I mean, I love this color, I'm obsessed with this shade. And another thing was, there's no German short rows in the neck, so basically the neck just continues straight down into the body, and I kind of just blocked it aggressively so that the back was higher, but there's no German short rows because at the time I just wasn't comfortable, like confident designing with them and putting them in my own patterns. I feel like I'm now getting like covered in the mohair. But yeah, so on my second sample I'm gonna knit it with a different yarn in a different size with the short rows, so again I can offer with or without the short rows, and I'll probably go longer on the body because this is more cropped, because I think where it's quite fitted I just think it looked better on me cropped, but if I'm having a more oversized one then I would definitely go for some more length. So I have done a couple of swatches. The Alaska recommends a 5mm needle, I think, or yeah, I think so. And this was knitted on a 5mm, but obviously that was the DK plus the mohair. So I originally swatched in the 5, but it was so gappy, and also the gauge was off. So like I said earlier, if I'm knitting in cables or rib or anything, I do go down a needle size, but I was nervous at first about going down a needle size because obviously it was smaller than I knit my original sample in. But then when I went down, this actually looks a lot better, and this actually matches gauge. So I think it worked out to be like the 5mm with the drops and kid silk matched on gauge in a 4.5 with just the Alaska. So that's what I'm gonna go ahead with. I'm really relieved that it worked out, but the thing is, I was kind of telling myself, like, if this doesn't work out in terms of meeting gauge, then it's just cream yarn, like, well, it's just off-white. There were so many other things that I thought I could really easily make with this, so I wasn't too stressed about it. And the reason I feel like I bought so much, so I bought, like I said, 20 balls, which in the sale it was so cheap. I think it was like maybe £27. They I literally got them for like just over £1 each. So I literally just had like a mind blank there of what I was about to say. Yeah, okay, so the reason I bought so much is because obviously I'm going up a couple of sizes. I haven't done the specific yarn estimations yet, and also I just thought the added length, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to be safe, and what I will most likely do is cast on the neck, knit the yoke, do the sleeves, and then finish the body, and then I'll just go for as long as I want to go with however much yarn I've got. This sun is so annoying. Yeah, so this will be coming later down the line. I told myself I would love to get like maybe 4 patterns out this year, not all necessarily big garments, but maybe some smaller things. Maybe I'll write their mittens up if people are interested, and if you want to test for me as well, definitely give me a shout on Instagram, because I feel like finding testers is the hardest part. But yeah, those are my acquisitions. So if you're only really here for the knitting stuff, then that's probably all you wanted to see. But I just thought I'd really quickly touch on some other bits, because I'm actually gonna start quilting or I want to make myself a quilt, and I ended up buying a lot of fabric, and I've done a couple of like little things for it. So I thought I'd just quickly show you here, because as it stands, I'm planning to do a whole project video on this. We will see how well that works, but yeah, I thought I'd just really quickly show you that, because I have also been working on that this month. And I feel like as well, another reason why this maybe isn't too many like finished pieces and stuff is because obviously I did have the shop launch, so I did spend a lot of time sewing for that. So obviously I am actually a seamstress, like that is my normal job, so I do sew all day every day for a living, but I've never really made a quilt. I made one quilt a couple years ago when my youngest brother was born, but it wasn't anything intricate. It was literally just like grid of squares. It was just like Spider-Man. But I just went down this rabbit hole, this Pinterest rabbit hole. It always just sucks me in, and I literally fell in love with these. I think they're called sawtooth stars. I feel like they're such a classic design, and I just literally went online. The thing about me, okay, is that I do get really hyper fixated on things, and like once it's in my head, I've got to do it. So I went down a rabbit hole, bought a load of fabric, made a couple stars, and I honestly haven't worked on this in a couple of weeks just because all of the shop stuff was just taken over and that cable thing was just taken over, but I'm hoping to get back to this weekend. So this is, yeah, basically the start of the quilt. So I've literally made 4 of these so far, which doesn't look like a lot. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to show you some of these fabrics, but it's, I think, maybe going to be a little bit difficult, so you're going to have to bear with me, and I'm sorry if I knock the camera. So I've cut out those. So basically the whole background of the quilt is going to be in this, like, it's a white, but it's like an off-white. I think it's called bone. It's not like a paper white, but I think it's nicer this way. And then these are some of the other fabrics. So let me see if I can show you this. Basically the idea is there's going to be a star, and then there's going to be one of these, and then there's going to be a star, and then it's going to go like that. So if you're interested, obviously I'm hoping to get a project vlog up, so you will probably see more of that there if you want to. But yeah, these are some of the other fabrics. So I've basically cut all of these so far, so that's what this little stack is. And then I guess I'll just really quickly run through the other prints. So there's this one, which is like this grid with flowers in. There's this one. There's this one. There's, oh god, there's this. There's this other light blue gingham. This is actually going to be what's on the backing, so I don't want to unfold it, but you can kind of see that there. I think that's kind of everything. There's basically, it works out to be, there's the fabric for the backing, there's going to be the white, the cream as the main colour on the front, and then there's 9 like contrast fabrics. So I'm really excited about that. I can't wait to get back to working on it this weekend, hopefully get some good footage of me and like working on it and stuff. But yeah, that was earlier in the month. You know, the one thing about wearing a black knit is that it literally picks up like everything. But then last weekend, so yeah, a week ago today, last Friday, me and my mum went down into like a local town centre, and basically there was this like little shop that was doing this like indoor secondhand craft supply boot fair-esque thing. So it was a bunch of ladies who were all super lovely, and they were all crafters to different like degrees and different crafts, and they basically were just selling all their stash stuff, which is just like incredible. So they were selling some old fabrics, yarns, buttons, books, upholstery fabrics, like really just a mix of things. So we did some damage, and the way that I justify this to myself, which I know I shouldn't have to, but normally, like, to put it into perspective, that fabric that I bought for my quilt, so these are all quilting cottons. They're just a really typical like lightweight kind of cotton fabric. These are all, I think, £10.50 a metre, and I didn't actually get a metre of each of them, but just for a rough guide price. And then each of these fabrics that I got secondhand were all £5 each a metre. Some of them ended up being a little bit of a better deal than that as well, so I feel like it was silly to pass it up. And whether I keep these for myself or whether I use them for future shop launches, I'm not sure yet, because I feel like they would make really cute products, but I feel like I need to see how this one goes first before I start like really planning ahead for other ones, considering I only put the shop launch up last weekend, or the shop drop I should say, last weekend, so it's kind of too early to tell like what's a bestseller and whatever. So let me just show you these fabrics really quickly, and then we'll wind up the video. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what each of these fabrics are. This one is a cotton, so that's what this looks like, and I want to say some of these are like shirting cottons, but yeah, that was, I think this was like, yeah, £15, so this is like 3 meters. And then there's this one, which is a hand woven Indian fabric. I have no idea on the actual composition. Like, obviously these women have had these in stash for quite a while, but it feels like, I don't know, it's rough but it's soft. I don't know how to explain that, but if you get up really close to it, you can really see how it's woven. It's definitely a bit of like a heavier weight fabric, but it's super nice. It feels really, really nice. Then there's this, which, can you see I've been enjoying the ginghams. This is an Italian shirting cotton, apparently. So this is what it looks like. It definitely feels different to the one I'm using for my quilt. These feel shinier and those feel rougher. Not rougher in the sense that they're like actually rough, but they feel like more matte. Yeah, this is another shirting cotton, which I feel like is so cool. There's this like floral one. And then lastly, literally, this is all just navy cotton again, which, I don't know, they just felt like such good quality, and especially for the price, it just seems silly not to pass them up. Like, whether I use these for the business or whether I use them for personal projects or just whatever, they just are really great stash fabrics to have, and I feel like they will work well with things that I already own as well. So yeah, that is absolutely everything I want to say. So yeah, I guess we'll just quickly go back to the patterns. So once I have finished once I finish knitting the second sample for my raglan cardigan, I will be properly writing the pattern. Obviously it's all graded, and putting up a testicle. I will always put testicles up on my Instagram, because sometimes the YouTube videos run a little bit behind depending on when I film them. So if you want up-to-date information, definitely head over to Instagram. I'm also ideally going to be writing up a pattern for this, and this is the one that I also have a green version of. Again, there's pictures on my Instagram that will be there. So they're probably the two patterns that I'm going to write up first. If anyone is interested in a written pattern for these, please do leave a comment, because I will, if there's interest, just to go along with, like, just to support the video, I guess. I think I'll probably list it as a free pattern, considering the tutorial is going to be free on YouTube anyway. But yeah, let me know. And I think that is pretty much everything. I will leave the website down below if you're interested in taking a browse of the different products and stuff that are on there. And yeah, hopefully you want to stick around and watch more on this channel. So yeah, definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.